There are moments that arrive like a flash, bright, urgent, impossible to ignore. A look, a message, a single touch. In that instant, the world narrows. Everything becomes about one thing. Desire takes the wheel. Judgment falls away. What we call lust is older than language. It is a force that shaped our ancestors, stitched communities together, shaped myth and politics, inspired art and war. But lust is not only the spark that creates life. It can also blind us. It can make us act in ways that surprise us, frighten us, or haunt us for years. This is a story about being blinded by lust, how it works, why it sometimes turns dangerous, and how we learn to find our vision again. We start with a question. What is lust? At its simplest, lust is desire focused on the body, on immediate pleasure. It is driven by hormones and by images, by memory and imagination. Lust is different from love. Love grows. Lust burns. But burning has power. It accelerates thinking. It rewires priorities. When lust floods the brain, the parts that calculate risk dim, the part that rewards us, that rewards behavior linked to survival and reproduction, lights up. We feel alive. We feel urgent. We feel unmistakably, right? People who have been caught in this blaze describe the same narrowing. One man says, "It was like someone flipped a filter over the world. I could only see her. Work lost its color. Friends were a noise in the background. I did things I never would have done sober." A woman admits, "I knew it was wrong. I knew the consequences. I knew the whole list. But in the moment, everything was acceptable because it felt so powerful." If lust can be ecstatic, it can also be destructive. It can fracture relationships, break trust, and push people into choices that harm others and themselves. So, how does lust hijack the mind? The answer lies in the brain. When we experience sexual desire, neural circuitry involving dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward, activates. Dopamine rewards pursuit. It punishes delay. It trains the brain to chase. Crushes and obsessions, flings and addictions, they all use the same chemistry. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, impulse control, and long-term thinking, takes a backseat. It's not gone. It's just quieter. In that state, immediate reward can outcompete consequence. But biology is only part of the story. Culture magnifies lust. From paintings to pop songs to movies, sensuality is celebrated. Advertising sells desire. Dating apps turn attraction into a stream of options. A swipe, a match, a message, and the brain gets a little hit. Repeated enough times and patterns form. Technology accelerates the cycle. Images that used to be rare are now endless. Intimacy can be instant, anonymous, and heavily curated. For some, this is liberation. For others, it becomes a trap. Consider the person who spends hours scrolling through images and videos, chasing that brief surge of excitement, always looking for the next peak. Over time, tolerance builds. The same image produces less effect, so the seeker searches further. Novelty becomes necessary. This is the hook of many compulsive behaviors. Lust becomes less about connecting with another human and more about chasing a chemical high. And with that shift, ethics fray. Boundaries blur. People who would never intentionally harm someone else can justify harm in the name of desire. Counselors who work with couples damaged by infidelity and compulsive sexual behavior describe the same pattern again and again. Intense early attraction, secrecy, rationalization, then shock when the consequences crash in. People become strangers to themselves. They look back and can't recognize the decisions they made. Not all lust leads to ruin. Many relationships begin with intense desire and blossom into deep love. The difference, experts say, is awareness, the ability to step back, name what's happening, and choose. Self-awareness is a muscle. It can be strengthened. There are also social factors. Gender roles, power imbalances, and access to privacy all shape how lust plays out. In environments where one person has authority over another, a boss, a teacher, a coach, desire can become coercion. What looks like romance can be manipulation. That's why consent, communication, and context matter so much. Sometimes lust mixes with loneliness. People who feel isolated may seek intimacy in risky places. One woman says, "I was alone in a new city. I wanted to feel desired. That longing made me overlook red flags. I wanted warmth more than I wanted safety." There is a practical side to being blinded by lust. It creates narratives in our head that bend reality. We tell ourselves that consequences won't be that bad, or that we can keep secrets, or that the thrill is worth the cost. Rational thought finds reasons to cooperate. When desire is loud, rationality can be an afterthought. What happens after flare fades can also be devastating. Shame moves in. Guilt over acted choices can corrode self-esteem. Relationships may end. Reputations can be damaged. And for some, there's a long process of rebuilding trust with partners, with friends, with themselves. Healing begins with honesty. It begins with naming what happened and why. For many, therapy is the first place where they can speak without judgment. A therapist reminds them, you are not a single act. You are a person who made a choice inside a particular moment. We can study that moment and learn. Repairing relationships takes time. It requires listening, accountability, and tangible change. Forgiveness can be possible, but it must be earned. The person who seeks forgiveness must accept responsibility, make amends, and prove they have changed. The person betrayed must be allowed to grieve, to have boundaries, and to decide what safety means. There are also steps individuals can take to protect themselves from being overwhelmed by desire. Mindfulness practices help people notice impulses without acting on them, slowing down the pace of interactions. Taking time to think before responding gives the prefrontal cortex space to re-engage. Reducing exposure to triggers, whether certain apps or late-night anonymity, can help reset patterns. Education matters too. Teaching young people about consent, boundaries, and emotional literacy empowers them to make safer choices. When desire is framed as normal but not inevitable, people can learn to navigate it with greater care. But what about the deepest, most troubling forms of being blinded by lust, where desire becomes predation? When lust crosses into coercion, the harm is not only personal, it is social. Predatory behavior exploits vulnerability. Power dynamics, addiction, and entitlement can create monsters. Societies respond with laws, with courts, with calls for accountability. But law alone cannot fix the underlying psychology. Communities that hold people accountable while offering paths to rehabilitation are most effective. That means consequences and support. Rehabilitation does not erase harm. It offers a route to change. There is another angle we must consider: technology's role in shaping desire and its responsibility. Platforms that profit from the commodification of bodies and attention often neglect the human cost. Some companies are beginning to act, introducing safety features, age checks, and better moderation. But progress is uneven. The systems that feed desire are complex and profitable. Change will take time and pressure from users, regulators, and communities. Yet even in the shadow of these powerful forces, individuals find agency. We hear from people who turn their most difficult experiences into lessons. One man says, "I ruined a marriage. I was arrogant enough to think I could control the chaos. The pain forced me to change. I found help. I learned to sit with discomfort instead of seeking relief in the next thrill." Another admits, "After the affair, I rebuilt my life by setting rules. No secrecy, no late-night conversations with exes, therapy every week." Real intimacy is boring sometimes. It's steady. It's showing up. That steadiness saved us. There is an inconvenient truth. Desire will not disappear. It is a part of being human. The project is not to extinguish desire, but to live with it responsibly, to let it enrich life without obliterating other values. So, how do we keep our vision when desire comes like a storm? First, name it. Call the feeling what it is. Second, slow down. Pause before you act. Third, ask yourself what you're willing to trade for a brief thrill. Fourth, remember the people who will be affected. Empathy is a natural break. Finally, seek help when patterns repeat. Compulsions are not moral failings alone. They are signals that something in a person's life needs attention. We close with a simple scene. Two people sitting across from each other, the sun slow in the sky. talking about what happened. One listens, one speaks. It is not a moment of fireworks. It is a moment of repair. It is imperfect and fragile. It is real. When lust is blinding, the hardest work is to open your eyes again, to accept the past, to build new habits, and to choose connection over consumption. That work is quiet. It is ordinary. It is, in the end, the most courageous thing. This is a story of being blinded by lust, not a shamed desire, but to understand it, to see how it moves through our bodies and societies, how it can thrill and wound, and how, with attention and courage, we can learn to live with it without losing ourselves.